Okay, hitting hitting this stuff up again. Hitting up the Archives rewatch again because for some reason I've been trying to get Steins Gate to start on my computer for the past 30 minutes and it hasn't been working. So this is the only thing that works. For some reason Steam does not. So I just gave up and will be continuing my Tetris Magnus Archives collaboration. This is Nothing Beside Remains, you know, the one where all the crazy shit goes down, where I'm pretty sure it starts with, I was about to call him Jonah Magnus, that's not his name, Elias Bouchard, because he's British, and I can't say the R. Starts by reading a really old statement to, I believe, Jonah Magnus, and then he like sets a timer to when John is gonna come in, which is fucking crazy. It was kind of crazy that like his other powers being revealed, that were like more like himself being revealed, like Elias, like his whole dealio, and like for his you know his personality, his I don't know his intimidation, the intimidating nature of his personality is very much so revealed in this episode, I believe. I feel like, okay, let's just rewatch it. Let's start.
Rusty Quill presents
Okay.
The Magnus Archives.
Tetris time, I guess.
Episode 92. Nothing Beside Remains.
Oh, what am I doing? Oh god, I forgot how this game worked. Okay, that's fine. Yikes. It's a weird choice. Oh, this is weird. Yeah, the clock ticking.
999, what's your emergency?
Police, please.
Hello.
Yes, I'm calling to report a crime in progress.
Sir, are you in any immediate personal danger?
Yes, not immediately, but I will be shortly.
I will.
Could I speak to your chief inspector, please? Tell her Elias Bouchard is calling, of the Magnus Institute.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Chief Inspector Calgary.
Yes. Good afternoon. Sorry to bother
This
you.
is such
I
a
believe
cool
you're looking for Detective Alice Todd.
Aura that they're setting up.
I do, yes. She should be here in about 15 minutes.
I'll send some officers over immediately.
That will be wonderful. Much appreciated.
Oh. The mood they set up in these first couple of minutes is so cool.
Statement of Barnabas Bennett, as given in a short letter to Jonah Magnus.
Oh god.
April 9th, 1824. My dear Jonah, you must help me. If anyone is still here, it is you. I know your work brings you into contact with all sorts of fantastical terrors, so perhaps you might have it within your power to save me from this place. And it was you who warned me not to cross Mordecai Lucas. Advice that I have, I'm afraid, disregarded. It was a small enough thing, as I believed, a trifling debt I fell behind on. And when he met me in that garden, quiet as it is always with him, he demanded repayment. Well, I took it poorly and laughed at his insistence. Bring it before the courts, I told him. After all, what judge would find in his favour over mine? He simply regarded me silently for many minutes, staring with such a cast to his face that I could feel my resolution beginning to falter. You shall pay me, he said at last, in kind. Then he walked away. Let me tell you, Jonah, I believed myself profoundly lucky that day as my hansom deposited me on the steps of my townhouse, a mood only slightly shaken by the impression that as the cab pulled away, it seemed to have no driver that I could discern. I am lucky, Jonah, but only insofar as that I never married, never fathered children, never let anyone get closer than my brother. The pangs of loneliness I feel are no more acute than my general longing for the company of my fellow man. I have no one whose absence truly pains me. And yet here, in this empty world, I cannot but spend these nights, these dreadful silent nights, huddled and frozen in some terrible fear I find myself unable to name. I almost think I hear the mocking joy of my friends, but there is nobody here and never shall be again.
Isolation.
I try to read, to lose myself in something that is not the absence of humanity. How is it that the books speak to me of my isolation more acutely than the silence? For every treatise I read on this world and its workings, the more I know I am to spend my time left in it without comfort or reprieve. With every tale of love or society, I feel more keenly the absence of both. I went to Egypt once with the Royal Society, to the temple of Ramses II in Abu Simbel. The place was remarkable, of course, but what sticks so keenly in my mind is the journey. 2 days earlier, on the road from Aswan, I found myself separated from my fellow travellers. I do not know how it happened, but I spent 2 hours alone there, under the blazing sun, staring across the vast, empty expanses of that ancient country. I revelled in the silence then, embraced the loneliness like an old friend, but now that friend has devoured me, and I shall not emerge from its jaws. Not without your help. And you must help me, Jonah. If anyone knows of what might break me from this dreadful place, it is you. I know that what is done by those I cannot see might be felt here.
That was an
I found
accident.
glasses broken and pages torn that were not so the night before. It is my hope that if I leave a letter here in your institute, you might find it. You might be able to save me. I have no other hope. Please, Jonah, if you have any compassion within your heart, you will not leave me in this place. Your loyal servant, Barnabas. Jonah Magnus did leave him in that place, John. Got the letter, oh yes, and was on good terms with Mordecai Lucas.
Directly
He
to
could have
John.
interceded, perhaps even saved
God, I
him,
love the mood of
but
this
he did not.
episode.
And it was not out of malice, or because he lacked affection for Barnabas Bennett. He retrieved those bones sadly enough when the time came. Bones that you can still find in my office, if you know where to look.
Okay.
No, it was because he was curious, because he had to know, to watch and see it all.
Curiosity
this place
also
is,
goes
John.
with the eye, it
Never
seems.
forget it. You may believe yourself to have friends, to have confidants, but in the end, all they are is something for you to watch, to know, and ultimately to discard. This, at least.
I don't like
Gertrude
this eye guy.
understood.
Treating other people as objects
begin.
seems an interesting prospect.
Sorry to interrupt. John's here, and he seems angry. I actually think he's brought a
Bouchard. Easy.
Hello, Elias.
Goodness, John.
He's a
Whatever
little
happened to your
angry.
hand and your neck?
That one was me.
You look a mess.
I've had a hell of a week.
Martin,
Good
would you be so
delivery.
good as to fetch Melanie and Tim? I think it would be worth their time to be here.
right. Okay, I'll just go then.
God.
Okay, let's do this. John, do you want to get this on tape?
No need, Basira. I've already got one running. Now, have something to ask me?
Go for it before I strangle the grinning bastard.
Elias, did you kill Gertrude Robinson and Leitner?
That's quite nice, actually. Tingly, but sort of freeing. You know, even Gertrude never properly tried to compel me. I always wondered.
Just answer the question.
Or don't.
Oh, no need to worry about that. I just feel it's only fair to wait for your colleagues, John. They'll want to hear this too. It's also very important to me, in a personal capacity, that you understand I'm answering you of my own free will.
I don't care.
I know, but I do.
Let's go.
There's so much of this place, and of ourselves, twisted by forces far beyond us. I just wanted you to know.
Okay. So
Why
I got
do you
everyone,
want them to
but
know?
I'm honestly kind of
Yeah,
lost as to what's happening.
Oh, Christ, what is it now?
Yes, same question, please.
Elias here is about to confess his crimes.
What?
Oh. Good.
Is that like?
Yes,
I don't-
I was just saying to John, it's very important to me that you understand that no action I have taken has been controlled. I have done everything because I wished to.
Get to the point.
I'm just a bad guy like that.
Of course. Detective. So,
Oh God.
for the avoidance of any doubt, I killed Gertrude Robinson because she intended to destroy the archives, and I killed Jürgen Leitner because he was an unnecessary complication, likely
What
to
am I
tell
doing?
John too much, too early.
Bloody hell!
Oh,
Sorry. That guy was.
Oh no, indeed.
Leitner.
It was.
Daisy, where do I know that name
Oh,
from?
the Yusuf case, an introduction to higher anatomy.
Oh. Oh, God. And you killed him. You sure shouldn't be giving him a medal.
Very sure.
And Sasha? Did you kill her too?
Sasha died almost a year ago, Martin.
What?
Oh, God.
When Prentice...
Tim does not want to be here.
It replaced
I'm
her.
dying in Tetris, Tim.
I still don't know how, but...
God damn it, this is...
It wasn't Sasha.
He's right, Martin. The thing you remember as Sasha was nothing like her. It toyed with your memory. If I showed you a picture of the real Sasha now, you'd have no idea who it was.
So that thing we saw.
Precisely. It finally tried to kill John, then Leitner killed it, then I killed Leitner. And I believe that brings us up to date. More or less.
Summary.
What about him? An irritant, interfering because he's bored and he resents us. He has no
Right,
purpose.
that's enough for me. Even got it on tape. Everyone get back.
What?
Daisy, wait.
Out the way.
Now, hang on. I thought you were about
Get
to arrest
out
him.
the way.
John,
I
do
thought you were
something.
about to arrest him.
Don't.
What am I doing?
Excuse me. Yes?
Elias, there's some police officers here to see you.
Yes. Thank you, Rosie. Could you ask them to wait a minute or two?
Yep, will do.
There. That should make it even easier for you, my detective. I know you were planning to kill me, but surely an arrest is a consolation prize.
Daisy?
Oh, didn't she tell you why she hadn't gone back to the station? Allow me. She rightly suspected that I held evidence of various murders she had committed, and that I sent this to her superiors. She's quite the killer, your partner. All in the public good, of course. And she was correct. I spent some time acquiring that evidence, or creating it. And while your superiors don't much care about the killings, the fact there is proof, they're not happy. And they want you brought in.
The fact that there's
So,
proof
I
they're
kill
not
you
happy.
and go
that's
to
funny.
jail. I'll take that deal.
For someone who used to be a detective, you're remarkably reluctant to think things through. You think you're the only police officer eager to do violence and call it justice. There are
Okay,
plenty
that's
of other
funny.
rabid
A
dogs
little
out
bit.
there, mad with the hunt, and some of them have signed a section
Mad with the
31.
hunt, you said?
There are plenty of others your superiors can call on to clean up this mess.
No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they would.
And anyone close enough to be implicated, they will kill Basira.
Okay, wait. That's the police that you're talking about, okay?
Martin, I'm so sorry.
Would they?
I'm sorry.
Oh God, Martin.
Yeah.
If the officers down there take you away... But perhaps I was wrong when I called them. Maybe it was a false alarm.
What do you want?
Collateral.
That. What?
A contract of employment for Basira.
What?
Sign it, and I'll send your ex-colleagues on their way.
Basira, I.
Don't do it.
There.
Tim's trapped here. He knows what he's talking about. Oh, wrong place.
False alarm, Rosie. Could you apologise to the officers for me and thank them for their time?
Oh, alright.
So.
Poor Rosie. Who are
what,
you?
You're her boss now? Is that supposed to stop me?
Yes.
I mean, she's still got a gun.
Of course. Sometimes I forget how new you all are to this. Basira is now tied to the Institute. All of you are. Like fingers on a hand, and I am the beating heart of it.
That's what
Should
that guy
I,
said.
or the Institute be destroyed,
Michael.
you will all, unfortunately, follow suit.
Wait, what?
Yep.
We're all gonna die.
And it would not be a pleasant death.
Bullshit!
Then shoot me. Just squeeze the trigger and watch the only person
this is-
you care about die screaming. Your last connection to humanity.
This is bad.
Daisy.
What do you
I
want?
hate it when the gays are
Police
exploited.
are not the only ones who can find a use for your violence. I'm sure there'll be plenty here for you to do. Feel free to go where you like in the meantime. I'll be in touch.
You piece of.
Daisy, it's okay. We'll figure something out.
This is insane.
You get used to it.
Yeah, this
Now
is a
that's
great
taken care of,
episode.
if you'll
And it was a
leave me and
short
John
statement
alone,
too, because
I'm
it
sure
was.
we have some things to
It's
discuss.
like basically just plot, and the statement was building the mood of the episode before the big fat plot came in. That's incredible. I love the writing of this
Come
show.
on, John. There's really no need for the scout.
What do you want?
Honestly, to offer some congratulations. You're doing a lot better than I expected.
Feels like all I've managed to do is not die.
And believe
Good
me,
job, John.
that is a remarkably rare skill.
I'm not getting any answers out of this, am I?
The easily digestible sort that wipe away any doubt and fear and neatly organise your new world into happy little columns.
That's John's favorite.
No, not from me.
No.
These are things you must discover on your own.
Why?
What are you?
I really don't know.
The archivist.
Precisely. It is your job to chronicle these things, to experience them, whether first-hand or through the eyes of others. To simply be told that, well,
It doesn't please your master.
our master, John.
I never
Yeah, I didn't
chose
agree
this.
to that.
You never wanted this, no.
You did
But I'm
choose
afraid
it,
you absolutely
I guess,
did choose
by
it.
whatever
In 100 ways, at 100
personality
thresholds you pressed
laws that come
you
into
sought
play
knowledge
with this.
relentlessly, and you always chose to see. Our world is made of choices, John, and very rarely do we truly know what any of them mean.
You got Hogwarts House sorted as a child. Let's go.
So what now?
You were doing fine before you forced this little scene. I suggest you continue.
So it was you sending me the statements?
A little bit of direction never hurt anybody, so to speak.
Directed towards what?
The unknowing. I need you to stop it.
Again with... What is the unknowing, exactly?
A ritual. The stranger and its kin attempting to gather power enough to bring it closer.
They're trying to... what, summon it?
Not exactly. These things that touch us, they
That was
don't
not
have a form
intentional.
of the sort that could exist in physical reality. So the stranger wishes to remake that physical reality into something closer to itself. It wants to make this world its own.
And how do I stop it?
That is what you need to find out.
No, you are not doing that. I know you have Gertrude's notes, her files. She was working on a way to stop this. Not to mention that apparently you can effortlessly see anything at any time.
Hardly effortlessly, but I take your point.
So obviously you know how to stop it. You could just tell me.
I could. But I believe that if I did so, you would fail. The stranger is antithetical to us.
I love that.
We thrive on ceaseless watching, on knowing too much. What we face is the hidden, the uncanny, and the unknown. If you were to stop them, you need to get better at seeing. And my explaining things is simply not enough.
And you can't just give me all the statements.
Superhero
Even when you
Jonathan
had all of them at
Sims.
your disposal, you barely got through one statement a week. Why do you think that is? It takes its toll on you, and I know you have had problems with moderation.
So it's back to breadcrumbs and statements and risking my life talking to things that barely remember how to be human anymore.
For now, I'll be in touch.
Okay, bitch. Okay.
Anything else?
Elias, am I still human?
John, what does human even mean? I mean,
That's
really,
not good. That's not a reassuring
you
answer.
still bleed, you can still die. And your will is still your own, mostly.
Mostly. Just a little
That's all
bit.
that can be said for a lot of the real humans out there.
Oh, dang. That was sad. Okay.
You're worried about ending up like that thing lurking in the dirt under the streets of Alexandria.
Oh yeah, I
Don't
remember
be.
that.
Just do what you need to do and you'll be fine. Understood?
I suppose so.
Good. Well, I have work to be getting on with. I'll send you a return to work form, but don't worry about the doctor's note. Now, if there's nothing else...
Right.
The Magnus Archives is a podcast
Yikes.
distributed by Rusty Quill and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 international license.
Left a hole.
Today's episode was
Sucks.
written by Jonathan Sims and directed by Alexander J. Newell. To subscribe, view associated material, or join our Patreon, visit rustyquill.com. Rate and review us online, tweet us at The Rusty Quill, visit us on Facebook, or email us at mail@rustyquill.com. Join our communities on the forum via the website or on Reddit at r/The Magnus Archives. Thanks for
Banger
listening.
episode. That was a banger, just a little bit. Okay. How do I pause? There's no pause button. There is no pause button. This game by Scott
context?
Cawthon.
I'm not sure I follow.
Oh my god, I ended up
What I
in the
mean is, if
middle
there's
of
no one
another
above
episode.
you, there's no one to point out you're doing everything wrong.
Look, can we put my professional competence to one side, please? Because I'm trying to tell you monsters are real.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, what?
okay. I know monsters are real, and I assume there's more?
You know.
Yeah.
You just believe me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not belief. I've seen them.
You've seen monsters.
Not the time, John.
Right. It's just I think I'm turning into one.
Thanks,
Really?
middle of the episode.
That's not great.
Yeah. Ever since I took this job, I've felt a compulsion to read out some of the statements, the ones that really touched the supernatural. And when I do, I feel them. I feel their confusion and fear. I tried to write it off, but... And I can make people...
I tried to
tell me
write it
their
off, but it was
stories.
really bad at it.
Anytime I ask a question, people just... answer.
Okay, well, that bit will need some proof.
Fine. What is something you would never choose to tell me?
When we first met, I thought you were putting on that accent to sound more impressive. Oh. Oh, John, I'm
Oh,
so
no,
sorry.
It's all right. I mean, I guess I did exaggerate it. A long time ago, anyway. Proof?
Yeah, I guess so.
He was putting on it like even more of an accent.
Like weird gods or powers or something. That they're outside our universe somewhere, but they push through sometimes in the form of these monsters. And sometimes they choose people to be servants or conduits.
Avatars?
Avatars.
So do I have to
they
call
end
them
up
avatars
getting
now?
These abilities. And they lose a lot of their self. Sometimes all of it.
And you think that's what's happening
Oh
to you?
god.
Yes.
Tetris.
Yes. The Institute serves one of these beings, at least Elias, who runs the place, does. Since accepting the archivist job, I've been
Oh
different.
god.
And I can't quit or apparently do any violence to him. I'm bound somehow.
Ooh, that was a bad decision.
That does at least explain why he picked you. If your job is asking questions, I mean. You were always the one who pushed too far and asked smart-ass awkward questions. I always was surprised you never got punched.
Well, I think that bit of luck's run out.
So, you've discovered your boss is evil, making you kind of evil. And you can't quit. So you fled here?
And there were some murders.
Oh! I assume that's why I had the police asking after you.
Oh, they came here.
It's fine, you were asleep.
What?
But anyway, that makes sense, but it doesn't explain the
Oh, that was
hand
bad.
Oh, that was one of the other avatars.
of your guy, or...
Well, no, my patron is focused on knowledge and observation. Elias calls it the eye, but I've also heard it called beholding or ceaseless watcher, a lot of names. This one was the lightless flame, or I think she called it the desolation. It's burning, destruction, pain, all the bad bits of fire without any of the light or joy.
Sounds lovely. And you were meeting them because...
One of the powers, the stranger, is... Its beings
Oh.
are trying to perform a ritual they call the unknowing. Apparently it's meant to remake the world, to bring it closer to their master. I don't know exactly what that means or where it is, but... I need to stop it.
I'm really in the middle of an episode right now.
Jonathan Sims, are you trying to save the world?
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I guess I am. But I need information, so I've been trying to find as many like me as possible. I've got a lot of leads, a weird Russian circus run by Gregor or Nikola or Sinov, and these weird van drivers that seem to turn up everywhere, and mannequins
true.
and taxidermy and skin and all sorts, but nothing solid. Elias has been sending me statements, apparently to prepare me, whatever that means, but some of the people I've been talking to have been very dangerous. I'm starting to feel like a bit of a punching bag, to be honest.
You are a punching
Would be
bag.
nice to meet
That was the worst
Monster
game. That is the
not have a scar to
people
show
who
for.
are actually good at Tetris must be watching me and
Well.
thinking I'm getting
Shit.
absolutely the worst anxiety.
So,
I'm at the
believe
end of Contaminant.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Okay, I'm at an 18, 19, so I'm gonna go back to the beginning
With the first door, it opened.
and then go back there.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank some of our patrons.
The judgment
Okay,
free.
patrons.
And here. I'd just like to take a moment to thank some of our patrons. Jonathan Walters, Shad Bolling, Anna Malsick, Oliver...
ruin.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I think
whoa.
I must have spent more nights. Statement of Lester Chang
Whoa,
regarding the
whoa.
cleaning habits of
My
his
computer's freaking out right now. Okay, there's the cello. There it is. Okay.
Rusty Quill presents The Magnus Archives.
Oh no. I'm very bad at Tetris, but it's fine.
Episode 93, Contaminant.
Well, I'm bad at this.
Statement of Lester Chang regarding the cleaning habits of his father in
Thank you, Cat. Major Tom.
Hello, Admiral. How have you been?
Admiral. Wrong one.
Yeah, I've missed you too. I'm trying to
Who's Major Tom?
find
I'm
you.
crazy.
Wrong hand, Cat. Wrong hand. Just. Sorry, Admiral. It's been a hard few days. Hope I haven't upset Georgie too much. Now, how can she be mad? She's got you. Yep, that's your ass. Thanks for that. Look, I know I love you too, but can I have my laptop back?
Love you, Cat. Love you, Jonathan
Can I need
Sims.
to... oh, okay. Belly rubs. You don't have to worry about all this stuff, do you?
Yeah, he's a
Get over
cat.
your head, I guess. Bet the world ends and you do just fine. Oh, right. You done? Okay. Statement of Lester Chang regarding the cleaning habits of his father-in-law. Original statement given March 5th, 1995. Audio recording by Jonathan Sims, head archivist of the Magnus Institute, London.
Once again.
Statement begins. My father-in-law was always a fastidious man. When we first met, I made some jokes about OCD, but a few warning looks from Danny shut me right up. Greg Russell was very tidy and very clean, but balanced out I always thought by his wife Sandra, my mother-in-law. I know I meant to hate my mother-in-law, but honestly Sandra and I got on fantastically. Both of us were kind of messy and found the chaos comforting and homely, and we had very similar senses of humour. I never figured out whether she and Greg complemented each other or drove each other up the wall. When I first met them, I was horrified by the way they talked to each other, convinced I was about to witness the messy divorce of my girlfriend's parents. But 12 years later, they were still together, and
Forgot what
I
in-laws
found
meant.
myself privy to their more tender moments. To be honest, I'm still not sure how healthy their relationship was, but it seemed to work for them, and Danielle, my wife, didn't seem to have inherited any of their more confrontational habits when it came to our relationship. All in all, I enjoyed seeing them 2 or 3 times a year on holidays, but was kind of glad they lived all the way up in Newcastle.
Oh no!
Danny would talk to them on the phone for hours, and I'd get all the updates, but crucially, I didn't have to do much of the interaction myself. And that was more than enough for me. Then, last year, the unthinkable happened. Hereditary conditions, right? They can really ruin everything. The doctors told us the chances of it happening were astronomical, like we should be proud of having something so unlikely march in and ruin our lives. But within 10 months, both myself and Greg were widowers.
Oh my god.
I think I must have spent more nights that year in hospital chairs than I did in my own bed. But November rolled around and I had it all to myself. You don't realize how big a bed can be until something like that happens. I don't really know what I expected it to do to my relationship with my father-in-law. I mean, I didn't really expect anything at all. If you'd asked me at the time, I probably would have said that it should have brought us closer together, that we'd probably end up leaning on each other for support. But that never really happened. Instead, he stopped contacting me completely. He still answered the phone when I called, but was polite when I went to check up on him. Every bit of communication had to be instigated by me. And he had gotten cleaner. I didn't think it was possible, but every time I went over there, the smell of bleach was almost overwhelming. More often than not, he was wearing rubber cleaning gloves when he opened the door, and as I walked around, I could feel his eyes, making note of everywhere I walked, everything I touched. I tried to talk to him about it, suggest he get help, but whenever I mention it, he would try to change the subject and talk about television or the news, though if I tried, it became clear he didn't actually follow either. Finally, I decided I just couldn't stand it.
Did you see the game
I
that I
sat him
didn't
down and
watch?
told him that if he didn't talk to someone about his compulsions, I was going to have to set something up for him. I told him that whatever he was doing, it wasn't the right way to deal with Sandra and Danny's death. I didn't handle it well. I was still deep in grief myself, and I almost broke down, pleading with him, telling him it wasn't healthy. When I said that, he laughed. He actually threw his head back and laughed. It was one of the most unnerving sounds I'd ever heard. Greg stood up, walked over to a small cabinet in his kitchen, and opened it to reveal row upon row of individually packaged miniatures of gin. He picked one of them up and inspected it, checking the top and bottom and examining the seal to make sure it was unbroken. Then, in one swift motion, he opened the tiny bottle and emptied it down his throat. He did this 3 times before he finally looked back at me. His gaze was softened by the alcohol, but it still looked like it was almost a physical effort for him to force out the words. "There is mold in my drain." That's all he said. Not all that strange a sentence, all things considered, especially in that context, but something in his face, something in the way he pressed those words out through his lips, made me suddenly feel cold all over. I made my excuses and left. He didn't look up as I closed the front door behind me. I tried to forget, tried to just move on and ignore it. If he didn't want my help, then I had no business trying to force it on him. But I couldn't do it. He was Danny's father, my last connection to her. I don't believe in ghosts or the afterlife or anything like that, but I knew she would have wanted me to do something. Danny never gave up on anyone. Work wasn't expecting me back for another few weeks, and Danny had had a solid life insurance policy, so there wasn't any problem booking a decent hotel room for a week in Newcastle. I knew that my father-in-law would never allow me to stay in his home, not at that point. But he couldn't stop me being nearby. So I started to check in on him every day. I brought him hot meals and talked to him for hours, even when he didn't want to talk back. But none of it seemed to weaken the cleaning compulsion that had taken hold of him. If anything, after a few days, I noticed that I had adopted the habit of cleaning my hands a second time before leaving the hotel bathroom. Greg wouldn't let me use his. On the 5th day, I did see inside his bathroom, though. I won't go into details, but suffice to say my Use of it was over his protests. It was just as clean as the rest of the house, beyond clean, really, as I could see some of the enamel fittings had been worn down and the tile grouting and sealant around the sink were starting to corrode. I shook my head and turned to leave, but
I tried to turn it.
as I
It
did
didn't
so,
turn.
I saw a small flash of colour in the bath. I pulled back the white curtain and looked down. Surrounding the edges of the plug's pristine chrome was a small halo
I tried to
of
fix
purple.
it. It didn't work.
I leaned over to get a closer look. It appeared to be some sort of fungus, scrubbed away so only the faintest traces remained. There was a spongy, fibrous look to it, and I had the sudden image of long, soft tendrils stretching away down through the pipes. It was the colour of a fresh bruise and smelled sour like old milk. I don't know how long I stood staring at it.
Ooh, I didn't mean to
But when I
place
looked
that
up,
there.
my father-in-law stood in the bathroom door with a look on his face that was a mixture of anger and embarrassment. He started screaming at me about privacy and respect, about how he was a clean man and knew how to keep his house pure. He had a lump of wire wool in his hands, and I left quickly because I was somehow sure that if I didn't, he was going to start scrubbing me with it. I didn't go back the next day, both to let him cool off and because I needed to spend some time convincing myself that I shouldn't just head home and leave him to whatever the hell he thought was going on. I couldn't get that mold out of my head, though. When I went out to eat, I kept thinking I could smell that awful sour odour, and I ended up just sitting there, watching my burger as it cooled down, searching its surface for any signs of something. At one point a fly landed on it, and I just found myself nodding, like everything was exactly as it should be.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't sleeping well. My sheets felt odd, slimy somehow, though whenever I turned the lights on to look, there was nothing out of the ordinary. I did go back. Of course I did. He wasn't well. I know I should have done something, forced some help on him somehow, but even now I'm not sure how I could have done it. Greg didn't answer the door, but it wasn't locked. The house was still
How many
spotless,
supernatural
but the
problems in
cleanliness
this
didn't look
universe
quite
could be
as
solved by therapy?
as it had before. Like it's been cleaned earlier
Genuine
and just hadn't been
curiosity.
used since then.
Like, if these people in the middle of,
My
like,
father-in-law was
supernatural
sat on the
occurrences
sofa
actually
in the
just got
same
therapy,
clothes he'd
would it
had on the
help?
last time I'd seen him.
Would it do
His skin
anything?
was slick with sweat, and his face was blank. I called out to him, and he looked up, but there was no recognition in his eyes. I glanced behind him, and
Okay.
saw the bathroom door was closed. Not just closed, though, but sealed. All the edges and the cracks had been packed through with sealant. He'd even nailed extra wood to the bottom of the door and sealed all the crevices of that. It didn't do anything to stop that sour smell, though, which seemed to pulse and ooze from the doorway, and as I stared at the edges of it, I noticed the sealant was laced through with thin tendrils of purple. I turned to Greg to say something, to ask a question. But then I noticed something. I began to realize that, aside from his head, every inch of skin was covered with clothes, with gloves or a scarf. Whereas before he had been dressing to be sterile, now it seemed like he was dressing to keep covered. And then I looked into his face. I saw the thin crust of purple around his eyelids, the corner of his mouth,
Okay.
and the colour of veins in his bloodshot eyes. He started to move to open his mouth, but I didn't give him the chance. I didn't even stop to consider alternatives. I just turned on my heel and ran. Some people might call me a coward, but I am absolutely sure those people would not have made it out of that house alive. I know I should have called someone, told the police or the ambulance service, but I was in shock. I didn't know what I'd just witnessed. I still don't, not really. I went back one more time, but I didn't even get past the front gate before the smell hit me, and I turned back. It looked like my father-in-law was moving, though. I remember it was Brecon and Hope doing it.
Brecon and
Ways
Hope.
down the street, and I recall thinking how odd it was, using a couple of local lads with such a small van, given how much furniture they were having to load up from Greg's house. I asked them about it, about where he was, but they just looked at each other and mumbled something in Polish or Russian.
Polish? Like a
completely
circus
ignored me.
Polish? Okay.
I was going to press the issue, but I got another wave of that dreadful, rotten smell from the house, and realized I had to leave before I was sick. The next time I went back, the place was empty, the smell was gone, and I never saw my father-in-law again. Statement ends. Elias gave me this before I left. Said it might help me
That was not on purpose.
clarify my next move. I should really have waited, got some rest before I recorded it, or until I'd had a chance to move out of Georgie's. I've already stayed here too long. It's not fair putting her in danger like this. Or the Admiral.
The cat.
God, if Daisy had come while I was here.
Keep that cat safe.
I wasn't sure what Elias meant by my next move until the end of this statement. Horrible as whatever it was that overtook Greg Russell must have been, it seems less than entirely relevant to the current situation. For Brecon and Hope, speaking Russian and helping transport a victim of whatever dark power rules over disease and rot.
Why do they look for everything?
Maybe.
I know the stranger.
Just
But
about
why
convinced that they
do
served
they,
the
like,
stranger, and their
look
speaking
for-
Russian might well support that.
Why
if
do
it
they
ties them
like
to
transfer
the surface,
disease people stuff?
but this is not the first time they've been delivering things that seem to be tied to other
Oh,
beings.
no. Okay.
Are they a neutral party, carting around whatever horror needs delivering, just a piece of otherworldly infrastructure? Or are they
Otherworldly
fully
infrastructure.
part of the stranger, just
what I'm
serving as
thinking.
allies of convenience for other things that need to be moved? More importantly, though, it mentions a depot in Newcastle. Sasha checked on the Nottingham depot when they first came up,
That is not what I
almost
put
2 years
there.
ago now. A different time.
When Sasha was still alive.
But that
Yeah,
had long
was,
been
that was pretty
gentrified
different.
into luxury flats. Sasha never mentioned that there might have been other depots, and I never asked. I need to do some digging, because if the place is still there, if the building is still standing, I might just have an idea where to...
And this is where we had the conversation with Georgie.
So, what, you were just packing this away?
Georgie, I needed to do one more.
I asked you not to record them here.
I'm sorry, I honestly forgot. It's been a hell of a week.
Yeah, not just for you. What, you think you just disappear for 5 days, then turn up looking like the end of Die Hard, and I'll just write it off? Classic John, what an interesting life he must lead.
No,
Where have you been? And what happened to your hand?
I don't want to talk about it.
Tough.
Look, I'm moving out anyway, so just forget it. I'm out of your life, all right?
No.
I don't think that's what what matters to her right
No,
now.
what?
You leave, you don't get your tapes back.
What?
When you disappeared, I took the tapes you recorded and locked them away. Honestly, I thought I might need them as evidence.
For when you
Want
die.
them back, you tell me what's happening.
Georgie, please, you'll think I'm delusional.
I really hope so, John. Because right now, I just think you're a dickhead.
All right. Okay, it started when I got that job at the Magnus Institute, you remember?
Yeah, they do studies on ghosts and psychics and that, right?
More or less. Well, I was hired as a researcher,
Kinda.
and that was fine.
I
I
already
enjoyed it.
listened to this.
Nothing
But I'm
really
Tetrising right now.
paranormal, but life
Tetris.
was
Tetris.
It was good. Then,
Okay.
a couple of years ago, the head of
Okay,
the
I need to
archives,
lose.
Gertrude Robinson, she disappeared. And Elias, my boss, chose me as her replacement.
Why?
What?
Why would he
Oh,
give you
okay, I
that
didn't
job?
listen to this. I do remember these lines
thought
though,
I
because
could
I thought it was
do
they
it.
were
You were a
very funny.
researcher, John. I mean, that's a long way from an archivist. And I know you don't just have a library science degree hanging around.
I mean, it's all the same data and papers and stuff, isn't it?
Not really.
It's
Well,
more
I
about
was
the-
given some assistance.
the Harry
Tim,
Potter sorting hat
Sasha and
system.
Martin, they helped.
Look, were any of them trained in information science?
I don't
I don't think
haven't even got to the
the
weird
archives
bit.
care that
No, I
much
know you
about
talk a good
information
game, John, but
science.
hiring you out of the blue as an archivist is pretty weird.
Head archivist.
Well, that does make sense, actually, in context.
I'm not sure I follow.
What I mean is, if there's no one above you, there's no one to point out you're doing everything wrong.
Look, can we
So
put my
mean.
professional competence to one side, please? Because I'm
Okay, this
trying
is
to
where I
tell you,
was.
monsters are real.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, what?
okay. I know monsters are real,
Tetris,
and I
let me skip
assume
ahead.
there's more?
You know.
Yeah.
You just believe me.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh god.
it's not belief. I've seen them.
You've seen monsters.
Not the time, John.
Right.
Just tell me what's going on.
It's just I think I'm turning into one.
Now that's weird. That's the
Really?
weird part.
That's not great.
Yeah. Ever since I took this job, I've felt a compulsion to read out some of the statements, the ones that really touched the supernatural. And when I do, I feel their confusion and fear. I tried to write it off, but
I was just into that, I guess.
and I can make people tell me their stories. Anytime I ask a question, people just answer.
Okay, well, that bit will need some proof.
Fine.
No.
What is something you would never choose to
I
tell
like the
me?
sound effect that they use.
When we first met, I thought you were putting on that accent to sound more impressive. Oh. Oh, John, I'm
Oh,
so
no,
sorry.
It's all right. I mean, I guess I did exaggerate it. A long time ago, anyway. Proof?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's still enduring. I can listen to this while I
The
die.
Institute is... there are beings, like weird gods or powers or something.
Ooh, it's
They're
fast.
outside our universe somewhere, but they push through sometimes in the form of
Oh,
these
God.
monsters. And sometimes they choose people to be servants or conduits.
Avatars?
Avatars. But they end up getting these abilities. And they lose a lot of their self. Sometimes all of it.
And you think that's what's happening to you?
Yes. Yes. The Institute serves one of these beings, at least Elias, who runs the place, does. Since accepting the archivist job, I've been different. And I can't quit or apparently do any violence to him. I'm bound somehow.
That does at least explain why he picked you. If your job is asking questions, I mean. You
Ooh,
always
what?
push too far.
Ooh.
Our smart ass awful questions. What's the question?
Okay. No.
Let's run out.
I hate Tetris.
So, you've discovered your boss is evil, making you kind of evil, and you can't quit. So you
Ooh, this is
fled
bad.
here.
And there were some...
Finally, it's over. Okay.
Oh. I assume that's
Murder.
why I had the police asking after you.
Oh, they came here.
It's fine, you were asleep.
What?
Anyway,
It's fine, you were asleep.
makes
I just said
Lie, but
no.
I've also heard it
Who?
called beholding or...
lovely.
But I need information, so I've been trying to find as many like me as possible. I've got a lot of leads. A weird Russian circus run by...
Go on, go forward.
Set in the
whoa,
mysterious
too
and thrilling
forward.
town of Ostium,
Too forward.
where some doors should not be opened.
The
Follow Jake
doors,
for
something.
By the
Okay.
website.
Believe me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Did I miss anything before this?
For it. But some of the people I've been talking to have been very dangerous. I'm starting to feel like a bit of a punching bag, to be honest.
Gets beat up by every
Would be nice to
single
meet a monster
avatar
and
he meets.
Not have a scar to show for it.
Well. Shit.
So, you believe me?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Thank God.
John, these things you're talking about, is one of them like death?
Hey! And then she talks about it in the next one.
Yes, I think so. There's one I've heard called The End. Why?
The end. It's different from death. I keep calling it death.
I'll make a
I'm
tea.
evil. Yeah, sorry. I'm not. Why did I actually felt bad for a second. I was like, dang. I keep dead naming the end. Dead naming. That didn't even register to me until after I said it. When you dead name the end. Dead name. That's stupid. That's so stupid. Because I kept calling it death instead of the end. Oh my god, that's so stupid. That's my worst accidental pun sentence I've ever said in my whole life. And all of my accidental pun sentences always come from the Magnus Archives. During my binges, like off camera. Oh my god. Like I accidentally, like in like just normal life, in like normal fandom life, I've taken on the awful habit of calling people hot bitches, like when they do something cool. And then in the Agnes episode, the one where like there was some guy I was in love with her, I called her a hot bitch, and then I'm like, wait a second. It's like, okay. This is the worst. For some reason, I also called someone a wide bitch, and I was like, why did I call them that? And I was like, oh wait, I was trying to like, it's like the vast. and I was trying to come up with like a synonym in my mind for the vast, so my mind supplied wide. And so I called someone a wide bitch. I'm pretty sure it was just fucking Simon Fairchild or something. This is the worst. Okay. Yeah, that's the end for me. I wanna, whoa, I'm in a study room. But yeah, bye. I have to head back to eat and stuff. So yeah. Signing off into the next dimension. Nobody will be there. And, don't dead name death. Oops, I did it again. I guess. Yeah, okay.